The real estate market's going through a correction right now. Some are calling it a crash. I don't exactly buy into that just yet. However, if you are needing or wanting to sell, how are you getting as much as possible for your house? We flip a lot of houses every year, so that's literally our goal, is to get as much as possible for the house. And stick with me, because if you're in the Denver market, I'm going to share with you how we're doing this with our clients without any added cost to them. So what's really important to note and question is the why. Why are we having a market correction right now? And this is all based on interest rates. If you were a home buyer in January of 2022, interest rates were running about 3%. This was before they started going up. If you were even the Class A buyer that's got a 750 plus credit score with 20% down, and you were looking at a $500,000 house, you had $100,000 down after taxes, after insurance, your monthly payment would have been about $2,000. Now, fast forward a few months, we're sitting at about 7% interest rate. So let's take that same down payment of $100,000 to get the same payment of $2,000. You're now looking at a house that's $365,000. Even with putting $100,000 down, having a mortgage for $265,000, your monthly payments at 7% interest today are going to be just around $2,000. That is a massive difference. So what's happened is that, first of all, we kicked a lot of buyers out of the market. Someone who could afford a $350,000 house, condo, townhouse, had 5% down payment. Now they might just be kicked out of the market completely because interest rates are way too high. So they're having to save up more as a down payment or look for cheaper houses. But the problem is that we don't have a ton of new inventory flooding the market. You can still get a job at $20 an hour pouring coffee in most places in Denver. Therefore, you can afford most of the low-end rents around the Denver neighborhood, so we don't have distressed landlords. We don't have a lot of foreclosures happening. So it's this really weird place that we're in without a lot of inventory coming out of the market to really plummet prices. So prices have started to stabilize. There's just a lot less buyers for each price point, and you have competition. So what's happening then is that you're having inventory sit on the market 30, 60, 90 days, getting price drops, which is then driving everybody's price in the neighborhood down. And that's what the driving force of the price reductions is because of interest rates, we have less buyers. Heck, we're down 30, 40% in closings from year over year. Now, last year was not a benchmark year. Last year was an anomaly completely. So throw that one out the window, and we're not as bad as what everybody's saying. And what we're seeing is that people with cash, let's say more than the traditional 5% down on a conventional loan. Let's say you got $50,000 to $100,000, still looking at a $500,000 house. You have a very important choice to make. There are deals on the market right now that are listed $50,000 to $100,000 below top of the market level. So that buyer out there with $100,000 looking for a $500,000 house, what we're seeing is that they're using their cash to buy down rates, not fix up properties. So in your neighborhood, you're probably seeing some properties sit around for 30, 60, 90 days. But what I challenge you to do is look up the properties that are all fixed up, that are priced 10% below top of the market. And what you're going to notice is those properties are still selling, and they're still selling within a couple of weeks. Because right now, the cash that you have is more valuable to buy down your rate, which is a long-term investment over 30 years. Buying your rate down by 0.5% is going to make your monthly payment that much better, so you can afford to get into the house. And having the extra cash to fix up the property, most people don't have right now. So let's break down the numbers on how this actually works in a real life scenario to show you why people's money is going towards a fixed up house and buying down the rate over fixing up a distressed property that is still priced really well. So here's the first scenario. You've got a house for $500,000. You've got $100,000 as a down payment. 20% gets you the best rates typically. And you can usually ask for 1% to 2% of a buy down in our current market, meaning the seller is going to pay a concession to help buy down your rate. So even though we're hovering around 7%, let's say you can get that down to about 6.5%. All fixed up house, $500,000, $100,000 in cash, 6.5% will make your monthly payment after taxes and insurance just under $2,800 a month. Now, let's pretend for a minute we're going to take the same house, except pretending that it needs $50,000 worth of work, and we're listed at $400,000 on the current market. sounds great, right? So the house could be worth 500,000 with 50 grand worth of work in it. So if you bought it at 400, put 50 into it, you'd end up with 50 grand in equity. But here's what the numbers shake down to be. So that same buyer who has $100,000 in cash available buys that $400,000 house. You put $50,000 for, you save $50,000 for repairing and fixing up the house. Now you're in the property with 50 grand in equity. So that's great on paper. That is one type of buyer. They are out there. But when you go through that scenario, your interest rate is going to be higher because you're no longer putting 20% down, so you don't get the best rates. You also have PMI added on top of that, so that's going to be an added cost to it. And at the end of the day, your monthly payment on a $400,000 house you put 50 grand down on is going to be just under $2,800 a month. So when you're out house shopping, and I know on one hand, you're like, great, we got 50 grand in equity for this property. But on the other hand, you've got a wife and a couple of kids that are moving into the house with you, and you don't want to do 50 grand worth of work. There's a very real emotional aspect to selling a house, to buying a house. And part of it is the ease of moving into a house that's all fixed up, ready to just move in and start your new life. What we're seeing at the end of the day is people are using their cash to get lower rates, not to fix up properties. So the properties that are all fixed up are still able to get a good dollar amount. They're selling quicker. Now, if you stuck with me and you found this valuable, that's awesome. Congratulations. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. But I did tell you I was going to tell you how we're doing this for our clients that is costing them an additional $0 out of pocket. So if you're going to go on the market with your house, you better have paint and carpet done, updated kitchen, updated baths if you want to sell the fastest and for the most money. We have literally made people 20, 30, 50 grand more for their house by using our approach where we come in, we will actually fix up your property for you. We'll pay for it out of our own pocket. We get paid out of closing for it. We call it our fix and list option. And so if you want to give yourself the best shot at selling your house for the most money in the quickest time frame, just reach out. We'll be happy to crunch all these numbers for you, see what's worth it to do, how long it's going to take, all that good stuff. And like I said, at the end of the day, it's not costing you anything out of pocket. So all the additional upside is yours. So if the market does rebound and interest rates drop down and all of a sudden we get multiple offers again coming up this spring, which is always the best time to sell, you get all of that additional profit. So if you got any questions about it, please feel free to reach out. And until the next time, happy housing.